One last thing we need to do is to create a new UV map that doesn't have stacked UVs, or stacked islands in this case. And what we may want to do is keep this in case you do need to have stacked UVs for whatever texturing purpose. So what we'll do is we'll create a new UV map, and we'll call this full box unstacked, right? And then we'll copy the full box, and we'll rename it first. We'll call this one full box stacked, and then we'll copy it and then paste it over the new one here. And now what we can do is use the pack UVs. We don't want to orient them, we do want to stretch them and pack them, and we don't want to lock the stacked. And we'll do a gap of 5%, hit OK, let it do its thing, and we should have a fairly decent UV map with strangely this one is still stacked. Oh, in fact, I see here that the centerpiece inside hasn't been correctly unwrapped. So let's do that. Let's Shift H to hide everything else. Edges selected, and we'll identify that as the split. Alright, try and work for us, peeler. Well, that worked a little bit, but boy, that is ugly. So let's just go ahead with these edges selected. Whoopsie, undo our deselection there. We'll use the unwrap tool. Let's do cylindrical, and let's try it along the, I believe the Z axis is correct. If we see down here the little Z, yeah, we'll do it along the Z, and that gave us a perfect island. Okay. And that caused the mesh right there to explode strangely. Let's find out what this polygon is. Interesting. There's no reason why it should have done that. Let's back up to before we did this unwrap. Ah, that's what caused it right there. Okay, let's undo back to that process, and now let's unhide everything just to make certain it's cool, and it is. And let's use the unwrap tool, same settings as before, cylindrical on the Z. Oops, we need to select just those polygons. Shift H again, and now unwrap. Alright, let's unhide everything. Sure enough, that did the trick. Okay, and now we'll do pack UVs again. Same settings, pack stretch, no orient, 5% gap, and no lock stacked. Alright, so now it's all good. And now that we have that completed, we have two different UV maps, one for stacked, one for unstacked. It'd be nice if it was somewhat similar, but that's in this case impossible unless you moved the parts to a different section of the UV space here. We could probably go ahead and do that as well. Let's copy this UV map again, and we'll call this one unstacked 2, and then we'll paste that on top. We'll take the front faces, if possible, of these UV islands. So we'll select them like so. Just grab one bit of each of those, and then in the UV view, hit Shift up arrow, and that will grab, oh, we forgot the top. Let's grab that one too. So use Shift up arrow, and that will grab only the front faces of those islands. And then we'll hide those. And now we'll take and select these islands here. And then you can just hit Select All, which is the right bracket. And we can move these ones to a different section. If you want to do the same thing for these parts, you could probably do that. In fact, these UV islands are a little too large for the amount of space it occupies in the 3D world. So, yeah, you could probably shrink those down. But it's no big deal at this point in time. We haven't done any texturing. And in fact, we may finesse these UV maps a little more later, but not at this point in time. And whoops, let's grab that one. I didn't seem to, oh, wrong viewport there. So select the poly there, go to the UV viewport, and then hit Shift up arrow, hide that. It looks like it's still connected. Alright, so we have a little more UV mapping to do. Let's find out where it is connected. Right. That island right here, yeah, this set is only in that UV map. So what we'll do, since we've already done it once, we don't need to do it again. Let's go to edit UVs and we'll do copy UV positions. We'll go back to that original map and then we'll go back to edit UVs and then say paste UV positions to selection, and you can see here now we have that island and we can move it over here, and then we'll go to unstacked number 2 and then do the same thing, paste the UV positions, move it so it's not stacked, and now we should be able to grab one of these polygons, shift up arrow in the UV viewport, hide that, and then yeah, now we have this island and we can freely move it about. And we'll put this one over here. So now that we have that part done, let's go ahead and work on those glue tabs that we have. Let's select each island in the UV editor. We'll hide everything else with Shift H, and let's make a selection set out of this just so it's going to be easier to grab these, and we'll just call these glue tabs. Alright, now we can do these one at a time, and we'll hide all the others. We'll zoom on in both viewports with Shift A, and now let's go ahead and select, by double clicking, select the exterior edges of the island there in the UV editor, and then we'll deselect those. So that's where the seam currently is on that. Alright, we don't want it on the front, let's put it on the back side. And in fact, we're going to select the opposite side as well, so that way it unwraps hopefully a little better. Okay, so it should split right there. Let's grab that edge there as well, and this one. Okay, so it should unwrap kind of like a cardboard box itself as well. Alright, now let's unwrap that, and let's try a group normal, click in the viewport, and that's pretty close to what I want. In fact, I think that'll work. Let's just try a planar. It's exactly the same, more or less. I think it has a slightly less skew to it on this section. We'll go ahead and grab that, change our action center to selection, and move it down that direction. And let's grab this edge here and this edge here with selection for our action center still. We can move this up. Alright, and what we're going to do is move this off to the side, just so that way we can do the others and select them. Okay, I'll do one more here. Let's just double click on that. Looks like we don't need that selection set after all, but better safe than sorry. Okay, we'll select the, that didn't work. Alright, we'll do this in the UV viewport. Double click on that external edge, and it looks like that one's correct. So now all we gotta do is select this side and that top part there on either side. And let's unwrap it again. We'll use the same settings as before. And of course, I guess that it was bound to be different. Looks like we should probably just use group normal. Oh, no, I knew something was up. I didn't get an edge in there. So there we go. Now we can unwrap it. Let's go back. Unwrap. And that is pretty darn close. Let's see what planar it gives. I like that better. So we'll move this one again with the selection for our action center. Move these up. Okay, I'm going to pause and do the other two and come right back. So now I've got the other two bits laid out how I want them. It's time to include these in this UV map here. Before we do that, let's take a look at the stacked UV map. And what we're going to do is place them in a space that each map has an empty area, so it looks like probably right in here. Before we do that, though, we have these long pieces here, and we should include those in the map properly. But those will likely be in the I'll probably tuck them over here. They're fairly small in the 3D space, and so they should be small in the UV space. That also goes for the tabs up here. Let's go ahead and select each one of these by double clicking on them. So now we can pack the UVs, and we could probably pack, stretch, and orient these. We'll give these a 5% gap as well, and then we'll base these on the bounding box. And so it's placed them down in these areas here, although this one seems to be stacked, and that's not cool. Alright. And they all seem to be slightly rotated a little bit. So let's grab these three here, change the action center to local, and then we'll rotate these until they are lined up with the grid. So it looks like these two now, and this one. Alright, now this last one here. Now we can do these longer parts here, and what we'll do, let's see here, we might actually use the move and sew to get these to match up properly. But for this, I think I would like to set up a selection set. We may or may not use it. And let's see, we'll call this one, long sides between. Okay. Let's deselect all those and grab a couple of the polygons from this one here. And then in the UV viewport, we'll use the shift up arrow to make sure we select the whole island. And it looks like that's not going to work for us. So we'll just grab the polygons in the UV viewport if we can. And I was able to grab a little edge there, and that seemed to work for me. So now we'll move that out. What I want to do is separate the outward facing parts from the inward facing parts. And let's make sure that one's outward. It is. Alright, pull this one up. Let's make sure that one is the outward facing. Sure enough. Okay, I'm just moving all these up. And more left. Alright, that one's outward facing as well. And one more, I believe, yep. And this one's on the bottom. That one's also outward facing. Okay, move that one up as well. Alright, so now we have that, and what the heck. We got some time. Let's align all of these islands here together on part of the UV map. It doesn't have to be entirely perfect, just kind of group them together. Alright, so now these islands down here, or at least the outward facing ones, we should probably let's make sure, yeah, so all these upper ones here are going to be moved and sewn to the main islands out here. And to do that, we're going to use right here move and sew with options, or probably just with selected or unselected. So let's go over how to use this. Let's select this island right here, and I want to sew this one. Let's see, let's find that set of polygons. Okay, so it's up here. Alright, now that we have that let's select the shared edges right there. And if you look, the other island has purple or bluish purple edges. And what we can do is move and sew unselected. And what that will do is it will actually move the unselected island over to the selection that we have. And so let's do selected. Oh, it's the opposite of what I was thinking. Those are not aptly named, I swear. Alright, so now we'll grab those islands, we'll activate the move tool and turn on the tear off tool, our function here. So these are obviously a little large, and what we can do is scale this down, and we'll scale it down somewhat relative to the size of the other polygons that we have over here. And so that shared edge right here, let's see, right here. Okay, so that set of polygons right there is not too large, so we'll make it probably, let's take a look at it and scale it proportionately. So this next set of polygons right here, oh right, I moved and sewed it to the other island here. Okay, so it's that set of polygons. So those polygons right here are smaller than this one, so this section should be smaller. And we'll probably call somewhere right around there good. Yeah, right around 45%. In fact, we'll just key that value in. Okay, do that a couple more times, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to show one more, and then I'm going to pause and do the rest and come right back. So now we've got those islands selected right here, and I've moved and sewn them, and I've also rotated these three to align them vertically to match their 3D space alignment. And these ones, of course, are horizontal right here, so I left those be. Now let's pack them in the space here manually a little bit better. Oops. Let's change the action center to selection, and we'll move that down there and deselect these here, and we'll move these ones to we'll put them right here. Now this UV map isn't completely optimized, and I also have the inward facing polygons in a different tile. So it might be a good idea to optimize these, but I think we're gonna call that good for this UV map, because we still have one more map, and it's a little more important than these two here. Before we move on to that, however, let's make sure that we get these polygons copied on over to the stacked version. So yeah, not looking good right there, and that one looks much better. So let's go to edit UVs, and we'll copy UV positions, go to the full stacked one, and then go to paste UV positions to selection, and now we've updated that map accordingly. And we'll call that good for these two maps, and next we'll move on to the die cut UV action. See you then.